Shall we start, sir?
Yeah.
Respected HOD, BOS Chairman and Faculty Advisor, IJS SVC Student Chapter, Mr. P.S. Ashit Garu, Senior Design Engineer, McAfee Environmental Solutions Private Limited, Gurgaon, India. Mr. M. Tarun Kumar Garu, Assistant Professor, Coordinator, IJS SVC Student Chapter, Faculty Members of Civil Engineering Department, SVEC, and all the participants. A very good morning to all. I am Lakshmi Prashant Reddy, Vice President of IJS Sri Vidyaniketan Engineering College Student Chapter. I feel privileged to extend my warm welcome to all here for day 2 on the third technical session of a 2-day national level online workshop on technological advancements in geotechnical engineering practice with geosynthetics, organized by Department of Civil Engineering, Sri Vidyaniketan Engineering College under IGS SVC Student Chapter, is full of diamonds and gems. We are having one among them here today to build this event. Mr. P.S. Ashit Garu, Senior Design Engineer, McAfee Environmental Solutions Private Limited, Gurgaon, India. I request Miss Monica to read the profile of Mr. P.S. Ashit Garu. Over to you, Monica.
Thank you, Prashant. A very good morning to one and all. A very good morning to one and all. I am Monica. It's my pleasure to read the profile of Mr. P.S. Harshit Garu. Mr. P.S. Harshit Garu is currently working as Senior Engineer and is leading the design term of Vertical Wall Technical Unit at McAfee Environmental Solutions Private Limited, Gurgaon, India. He has obtained his bachelor's degree in civil engineering from Sri Vidyaniketan Engineering College, Tirupati, and has done postgraduate diploma in operational management from Wellinger Institute of Management, Development and Research. Mr. P.S. Harshit Garu has over 6 years of working experience in geotechnical or highway engineering fields. He is involved in highway projects for providing geotechnical solutions for soil retention, slope stability, and ground improvement works. Majority of his works involved designing of reinforced soil walls using geosynthetics for various applications in highway, railway, and real estate projects in him. It's an honor to me to welcome our guest speaker, Mr. P.S. Harshit Garu, to share his valuable lecture with us. Please, sir.
Hello all, good morning to everyone. I thank Mr. Ishwareddy sir for giving me this opportunity to deliver a lecture in front of all of you. And I thank Mr. Tarun Kumar also for coordinating with me and guiding me throughout. And I would share my screen.
Very good morning, Harshit.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir. Good morning to all. Hello all, good morning. Today I will be talking about reinforced soil wall systems. Before going further, I would like to introduce my organization. I have been working here in McAfee from the past 6 years, and it has helped me to develop whatever the knowledge I have today. So I would also like to thank McAfee also for providing this opportunity. And McAfee Environmental Solutions is an MNC organization which has its HQ in Italy, and we have our base in over 100 countries, and we have about more than 70 factories in and around the world, and the total number of employees in our organization is around 3,000 people. Now we will go further into the presentation further. So before going to reinforced soil wall system, let us understand what is the general conventional retention systems. So as we know, retaining structures are usually built to retain, just one second. Retaining structures are usually built to retain the soil and to maintain two different levels at a particular location. So if I want to retain a soil here and if I want to build a road, So I need certain structures to to take the lateral earth pressure. So these structures are called retaining structures. The conventional retaining structures would be gravity retaining structures, which are built with bricks or rubble masonry stone walls, or it could be a cantilever wall, or it could be an anchored wall, or it could be a piling wall. It could be a it would be a counterfort retaining wall, or it would be a butter stressed retaining wall, or concrete ribbed walls, wherein concrete logs are placed, and into the concrete logs the soil or stone will be added. So these are the general normal conventional retaining systems available in the market. So these two have certain disadvantages. Yeah, these rigid conventional retention systems have certain disadvantages. These are usually limited to certain heights. Beyond certain height, we may not be able to construct this kind of retention systems. These retention systems cannot tolerate large differential settlements, as these are rigid and these are not flexible in nature. So even a slight settlements may affect the whole structure. Since these are heavy structures, we may have to bear large foundation pressures. Because of these large foundation pressures, we may have to go for deep ground improvements and all. So it will again become costly. These kind of rigid structures will have poor seismic resistance because it attracts large inertial forces in case of a seismic activity, and hence few failures may occur due to its rigidity. And even it is relatively high cost, and even it also takes longer duration for construction because of the various bar bendings and various curing requirements. So in to avoid all these drawbacks and to go further, unknowingly or unknowingly, a reinforced soil system has been used from the ancient past, and reinforced soil walls has emerged. And to understand further more about the reinforced soil wall concept or reinforced soil concept, let us go through an experiment. So here you can see an wooden box. Here in the one side of the wooden box, we have an detachable frame. So this can be detached. So in this wooden frame, what they are trying to do is they have taken a piece of paper and they are trying to replace it with this wooden frame. And now with this piece of paper, they are adding certain reinforcement. Like they are cutting the strips of paper and attaching it to this sheet at certain levels. Now here you can see this sheet. In this sheet, we have attached reinforcement strips. Like this is also a little paper kind of material at certain different levels they have attached. And now what they are doing is they are placing this paper along with the strips of the reinforcement over this along one side of the wooden frame. So now they are trying to they are pouring soil into this wooden box, and as you can see, they are pouring it to certain level and they are placing this paper strips, and then again they are pouring soil and they are compacting it. As you can see here, they are trying to compact it. And now if you can see, with just a sheet of paper and with even with certain load through bucket full of soil, this structure, even with a normal sheet of paper with certain strips of reinforcement or even certain strips of paper also, this soil is not failing anymore. So this could able to retain. So as you can see, they have put a lot of load over the soil. Even with the extended loads, this is not failing. So as you can see, this is the concept of reinforced soil wall. Basically, as you all know, just like retaining structures, just like RCC structures, just like concrete, soil is also strong in compression but weak in tension. So moving further, what is a reinforced soil structure? Reinforced soil structures are the form of mechanically stabilized structure that incorporates certain planar reinforcing elements which can bear tensile stresses. Whatever the reinforcing elements which we are providing into the soil, they will take the tensile stresses. The source of this resistance to tension is basically because of the internal friction developed between the soil and the reinforcement. So basic mode of transfer mechanism in case of reinforced soil structures are through friction generated between the reinforcement and the soil. So now to understand more, so you are telling reinforced soil structure. What is meant by reinforced soil wall and what is meant by reinforced soil slope? We need to understand what is a slope and a wall. As you can see, when the slope angle is greater than 70 degrees, it is defined as a reinforced soil wall as per the codal provisions. And if the slope angle is less than 70 degrees or up to 70 degrees, if this angle is up to 70 degrees, it is considered as a slope. To further know, as you can see, this is a vertical wall. So this can be defined as a reinforced soil wall. Similarly, here you can see this is constructed in a slope and it is less than 70 degrees with the horizontal. This can be considered as a reinforced soil slope. So this is how we differentiate reinforced soil wall and reinforced soil slope. So now, what are the basic components of reinforced soil structure? In general, reinforced soil structure, as you know, there should be a phasing element. So the phasing element is one of the major component which should try to hold the soil particles in place. So it should not allow it to fall down. So this is just a phasing element. And then there is a reinforced soil and retained soil. Fill material is important, since the fill material is the major one which is used to generate the friction between the reinforcement and the soil. So this fill material selection will also be an important. This is also a major component. Whatever the fill which is behind the reinforcement, geosynthetic or steel reinforcement, this soil is called retained backfill. And another major important component is the drainage media. So water may percolate into the soil and it should be able to transfer. There should be a separate medium to transfer this particular water from the reinforced soil structure. These are the major components of any reinforcement: the phasing elements, the fill material, the drainage medium, and the reinforcing elements. So let us go into each thing one after other. So reinforced soil wall fascia. Let us go with the fascia. These are the classification as per fascia. So now you can see there we can go with different fascias. One could be a soft fascia, wherein, as you can see here, there is no particular fascia like that. You will be having geogrids or wraparound fascias. So we'll be having soil filled in the geogrids with the help of one geotextile as a separator. And then we will be having stone fascia, like gabion boxes will be there in which stones will be filled. So this is called stone fascia reinforced soil walls, in which geogrids can be placed as a reinforcement, or normal meshes will be placed as a reinforcement. Other fascia that could be possible in case of reinforced soil structures would be modular blocks. Modular blocks are nothing but the small blocks, just like brick-like structures, which is having a height of around 0.2 meters and the thickness will be around 0.3 meters. So these are just like brick-like structures, and in between geogrid layers will be placed. And similarly, there are discrete concrete panels. Here you can see these are the concrete panels, wherein height of these panels would be around 1.5 to 1.6 meters and the width will be around 2 to 2.2 meters. So here various concrete panels will be placed one over the other, and then reinforced soil wall or slope will be formed. So these are the different kinds of fascia that is possible. And coming to reinforcement material, so there could be a geosynthetic reinforcement or a steel reinforcement possible. So if we go to the geosynthetics, when I want to define the geosynthetics are nothing but the planar materials which are fabricated or which are manufactured from polymer materials, and these materials are when they are in contact or when they are used with for geotechnical purposes, these are called as geosynthetic materials. So what kind of geosynthetic materials can be used in reinforced soil walls or slopes anywhere? So the different types of geosynthetics that we can use is geogrids. Geogrids are nothing but the grid-like structures which are formed from fibers. As you can see, these are the grid-like structures. These are formed from fibers. So these are woven or knitted fibers. These are woven or knitted fibers wherein they will take various fibers and they will knit it. And these are bonded fibers. Here they will the various strips, geosynthetic strips, are bonded with each other through thermal bonding, and they are formed. These are extruded geogrids, wherein a plain sheet of geosynthetic material, from that they will do punching and they will extrude this kind of geogrids. And it could be a geocomposite, wherein it not only do the purpose of the reinforcement, it might also do the purpose of the drainage function also. These are called geocomposites. And then we can also go for geotextiles. So geotextiles are nothing but the fabrics. So these can also be used as a reinforcing material. Then there will be a polymeric strip. So these are usually 85 to 90 mm wide. These are the polymeric strips, which can also be used as a reinforcing element. So when we go to the steel strips, these are the normal steel strips which you will be having in 50 to 60 mm wide. So these are the just like a strips, and we can use them as a reinforcement. There will be twisted meshes. This can also be used as a reinforcement. And there will also be welded ladder kind of reinforcing elements. So well, coming further, steel material, when we use the steel kind of material in reinforced soil structures, because of the high exposure and high pH values of the soil or fly ash or whatever we use, these get corroded and the structures tend to fail. And the cost of the steel strips or steel material is also too high. So because of this, initially in India, maybe till 2000, they were using this kind of steel material. With the advancement of the geosynthetic materials, now we have totally avoided using this kind of steel strips, and we are using in most of the cases only geosynthetic reinforcement have been used, either in the form of grids or geotextiles or in the form of strips. Geosynthetic materials are being used. And now the third major important material in case of reinforced soil structures are the fill material. As said earlier, it should be a granular material. If I use a cohesive fill, the problem would be the friction between the soil and the reinforcement will not be developed. So it is in case of reinforced soil, it is always advisable to use a granular fill material. And then design will also depend upon the properties of the retained fill. Retained fill is nothing but the fill beyond the reinforcement. Whatever the reinforcement, geosynthetic reinforcement are providing, the fill beyond this reinforcement is called retained fill. These properties has also need to be finalized before going for any designing purpose. Not only normal fill, even mechanically stabilized soil or solid waste like fly ash or pond ash can also be used as a fill material in case of reinforced soil structures. So what are the recommended properties suggested by Indian guidelines? So the recommended properties for reinforced soil is recommended as for angle of internal friction shall be always greater than 30 and plasticity index should be less than 6. So these are the guidelines which has been given in MWAT-TH and IRC SP 102. These are the two guidelines which we use while designing for reinforced soil walls. So and then they have also subscribed a few reinforced soil fill gradation requirements also. They have also restricted the maximum size of the soil or fill material. So what they are telling is don't use soil particles or soil particles having size greater than 75 mm. So what happens if I'm using higher size material, the damage to the reinforcing elements will be high. So if you are still want to use the material greater than 75 mm, certain high coated geosynthetic materials has to be used. And they have also restricted the percentage fines. 75 microns shall be always less than 15%, as percentage microns indirectly indicate the content of clay material also. So what they have restricted is don't go for higher clay material. So please try to use soil having less than 15% 75 micron passing. And what they have also recommended for retained soil, they have also recommended, see, try to not use soil with angle of internal friction greater than 25. So as angle of internal friction increases, or as angle of internal friction is decreasing, the Ka value, the active earth pressure acting on the wall or the reinforced soil will increase. So it will also make the structure more unstable. So they have restricted to use fill having greater than 25 degrees.
Harshit,
Similarly, so from ground level or from the existing road level, we need to go to the top. So in this case, we need to build certain approaches. In case of building such approaches, we can use this kind of reinforced soil structures. It can also be used for railroads. It can we can use it for the railroads where railway loading, huge railway loading will be coming over the reinforcement, and this can also be used in such particular applications. In case of airports, in case of runways, and where railway airport aircraft loadings will be coming, this can also be used in case of such conditions also. Industrial and mine crusher walls we can use. Parks and gardens also we can use. Architectural stadiums and arenas we can use them. For boundary walls also we can use in case of residential and commercial development projects. For boundary walls or compound walls also we can use such kind of reinforced soil walls or slopes. Again, for waterfront structures also we can use this reinforced soil walls. Going further, how to design reinforced soil walls? So is it different from designing a normal retaining wall? No, it is not. It is similar to the whatever the design we do for a normal retaining wall. So slightly there will be certain changes that have been recommended since we are introducing geosynthetic reinforcement or steel reinforcement into the soil. We may have to do some checks for that reinforcement also. This is the additional design which we need to do. So what is the basic, what are the various guidelines available? So what are the codes applicable? So BS 8006 2016, this is the British Standard Code. In India, we are mostly using this code along with FHW, Federal Highway Authority 24, 25 and 43, IRCSP 102 and MORTH and AFNOR codes. AFNOR code is an French code. So all these codes we are using for while designing reinforced soil walls. So IRCSP 102 is a recent code which is almost same as BS 8006. It has been developed with reference to BS 8006. So these are the various guidelines which we use while designing reinforced soil walls. So what is the basic design principle? So reinforced soil walls are usually designed for ultimate limit state and checked for serviceability limit state. Just like a normal RCC, what we do a design based on ultimate state, and based on serviceability, we'll check the deflections and everything, wall cracks and all those things, crack widths and everything. Similarly, reinforced soil walls also designed for ultimate, and they are again checked with serviceability limit states. So the limit state design philosophy for reinforced soil walls and abutments shall be implemented similar to concrete structures. The loads will be increased and by certain factors, partial factors, and the strengths will be reduced by certain factors. So when coming to ultimate limit state, we will take care of the collapse of the structure, and we'll also take care of the very high deformations. And while coming to serviceability limit state, we will check the minor deformations. So what is the geometric data required in order to go further with the design of reinforced soil walls? So basically, The geometric data required would be what is the total height of the wall. This we need to understand before starting any design. So what is the height of the back slope? So what is the height of this surcharge load over the reinforced soil wall? What is the slope of this embankment over the soil? If any slope is there, what is the slope of this? So all these details, and what are the external loads that are applied over the reinforced structure? All these details are required to design a reinforced soil wall. All this geometric data is always required. So now, what are the various configurations of reinforced soil walls that is possible? So this is a simple reinforced soil wall wherein there will be a facing, there will be reinforcement and nothing more than that, and there will be a road coming over it, or road or anything coming over it. So it could be a back-to-back wall wherein two reinforced soil walls will be coming and will be providing reinforcement on either side. So this is a back-to-back wall. There could be a trapezoidal wall that can be possible, wherein this kind of wall will be provided in case when there is a hillock along this side. So we may not be able to provide the complete reinforcement. So we'll be providing reinforcement in different layers of different lengths. So this can also be possible. And it can also be a shored wall wherein a stable rock profile will be there, and we can provide reinforcement till that rock profile, or we can do anchoring into that rock profile also. We can also go for bridge abutment kind of structures. So when I say bridge abutment kind of structures, here reinforced soil wall will be there, and instead of the normal RCC abutment, we can provide reinforced soil wall abutment wherein the bridge girders can rest over the reinforced soil wall directly, and it can take the entire load. And there can also be tiered wall. Tiered wall can also be possible wherein two reinforced soil walls are constructed in steps. So here you can see a reinforced soil wall. After certain width, we can provide next reinforced soil wall. So this kind of configurations are possible in case of reinforced soil wall structures. So what are the dimensioning of these reinforced soil structures? When I say codal guidelines, so I cannot provide 1 meter length of reinforcement, geosynthetic reinforcement. Code has suggested we should always go with minimum reinforcement length as 3 meters. So we should always provide for any height, for even 1 meter height of wall, code has suggested to go with 3 meters of reinforcement length, or 0.7 times of height of the wall. Whatever the height of the wall, if it is 10 meters, we need to provide minimum of 7 meters. So it should never be less than 7 meters. These are the guidelines provided by IRC SP 102. What is the minimum embedment depth? When I say embedment depth, so there will be a reinforced soil wall wherein it should be embedded into the ground. So how much depth it should be embedded? So minimum 1 meter has to be embedded into the soil. So these are the certain structural dimensionings or certain thumb rules provided by Indian Road Congress, IRC SP 102. And then what are the various loadings that could be occurring in case of reinforced soil wall? What are the data which you need to collect from anyone before proceeding with the designs? So there is a reinforced soil wall, and over it there will be a dead load. So what would be the dead load? Dead load could be the load of the pavement crush which will be coming over the reinforced soil wall, or it could be the dead load due to the surcharge. When in case of partial height walls, wherein RS wall will be constructed for certain height, after that if embankment will be provided. In such cases, this dead load shall also be taken into consideration. Then live load. When I say live load, what is the traffic movement in that particular location, or what is the maximum live load that would be occurring over that reinforced soil structure? If it's an highway, what could be the loading? If it's a railway structure, what is the load from the railway structures? And particular guidelines we need to refer, and that particular load need to be taken. If it is an aircrafting load, So what is the what is the load from the aircraft which will be coming? So these loads has to be taken while designing. And any strip loads that will be occurring when a reinforced soil wall is constructed, when if you see in any highway, over the wall there will be a barrier, there will be a crash barrier. So this crash barrier load should also be taken while designing in a RS, reinforced soil structure. And also we need to take care of the impact loads. So since this is an elevated structure, and whenever a vehicle moves, in case if it tries to jump, if it tries to collide with the crash barrier, there will be a certain impact that will be occurring over the reinforced soil structure. So this impact shall also be taken care while designing a reinforced soil wall. Other than that, seismic zone. So what, in which location this particular structure is there, and what is the seismic activity in this particular zone? The seismic activity can be known from IS 1893. So in this code, they have divided the whole country into 4 different zones: zone 2, seismic zone 2, 3, 4, and 5. So based on the location, in that map, we can see in which location that this particular structure is going to be built. Based on that location, the seismic loads can be calculated based on the horizontal acceleration due to that seismic activity. So these are the various loadings which we need to consider before starting any design. So just these designs, in the designs, what are the things that we need to select or that we need to analyze? So 2 things we need to analyze. One is external stability and the second one is internal stability for both static and seismic conditions. When I say static, it is a normal condition. When I say seismic, it will be what is the functioning of the structure, what is the stability of the structure in case of an extreme seismic event. So this also have to be checked. So when I say external stability, just like any normal retaining wall, so this structure has to be checked for bearing, tilting, let's say overturning, sliding, and slip circle failure. So all these external stability checks, which we do in case of normal normal retaining wall, has to be performed. So in the RCC retaining wall, the self weight of this RCC structure will be taken as a stabilizing force. In case of reinforced soil structures, the reinforced soil block is taken as a rigid block, and the weight of this reinforced soil block is taken as a stabilizing force. This is the only difference when we do an analysis. So as I told, when in an external stability, if I say this is my reinforced soil wall and this is the reinforcement, so we need to check sliding. So this particular structure shall not slide in case of any event, or in normal case also. So the designs has to be performed in such a way all the stabilizing forces are greater than the destabilizing forces. So it should whatever the loads or lateral pressures coming over the wall shall be coming from the retained fill or the back fill shall be resisted by this reinforced soil block. So this has to be taken care. So tilting failure, it should not overturn. It should neither slide. It should not also overturn. It should not overturn. Or bearing failure due to the heavy loads from the reinforced soil, based on the in situ soil properties also, it should not fail in bearing. And the overall stability, based on the overall stability need to be checked based on the in situ soil condition. It should not slip. Slip failure should not occur. So slip failure analysis should also be done in case of reinforced soil walls. Apart from this stability, we also have to perform internal stability. When I say internal stability, it is the stability of the structure layer wise. We are providing reinforcement everywhere for every pointed as per Indian guidelines. For maximum spacing in the vertical spacing in the reinforcement has been limited to 0.8 meters. So for every 0.8 meters, almost we will be providing a reinforcement layer. So this reinforcement, geosynthetic layer or steel layer, whatever may be the reinforcement, this should not fail for any loads coming over it. So if it fails, the whole structure will fail. So we need to design this structure internally also, not only externally for sliding, overturning, tilting, bearing. Internally also, this particular structure should be stable. So what are the checks that we need to do? So one thing is rupture. So whatever the load coming over this particular reinforcement, this particular layer, the strength of the geosynthetic reinforcement should be greater than the load coming over it. So this has to be taken care. So based on that, the reinforcement strength. So in kilonewtons, the reinforcement strength will be there. Whatever the strength is there, that should always be greater than the strength of the vertical loads coming over it. So this has to be taken care. So the reinforcement shall not fail in rupture. It should not rupture because of the heavy loads coming into it. Also, as we know, this is the Rankins failure plane will be there. So just like normal RCC structure, it should also be safe in bond strength, anchorage length. There should be sufficient length. So it should not fail because of the insufficient length. It should not pull out. It should not pull out. So in order to have particular adherence, so we need to have sufficient length of reinforcement beyond the failure plane. This also has to be taken care while doing internal stability. Apart from this, we can also have to check. There is a reinforcement. There is a concrete panel. If I say this panel will be of just 180 mm thick, so 0.18 meters thick. So here, this reinforcement and panel will be connected through a connection arrangement. So connection strength requirement should also be checked while designing and reinforced soil wall. For every layer, you need to check the connection strength. What is the maximum load coming at the location, and whether the connection provided at this particular location is able to take it, or whether this connection will fail, pull, and the structure will affect. So this particular thing shall also be taken care while doing internal stability check. So as I said, the fourth major component would be the drainage for the reinforced soil walls. So when I see if huge amount of water is accumulated and we are not draining that water, it will apart from the actual lateral earth pressures, there will be certain hydrostatic pressures also. So if we have not designed for the hydrostatic pressure, and because of the high intensity of rainfall, the water has been percolated into the soil, and if it has not been designed, there will be possibilities of any failure. So this drainage shall also be taken care while designing an RS wall. Conventionally, a filter media of 600 mm thick behind reinforced soil wall is provided. Not only a reinforced soil wall, normal retaining wall also. Conventionally, a gravel material of 600 mm thick is usually provided behind the face of the wall. Nowadays, it has been replaced. This drainage filter media of which is made up of gravel has been replaced with few geosynthetic composites, few drainage composites. So I would like just see, as you can see in the left side, this is the normal filter media in general which we'll be providing. So it will be of 600 mm wide thick. So the soil will be percolating it. So this has been nowadays has been replaced with geosynthetic composites, drainage composites. So here, as you can see, there will be a core at the center, and there will be geotextiles on either side. So the soil should not enter into this core, into the core. So there will be a separation layer, and the water should percolate into this core. So there will this geosynthetic layer will act as a filter also. So this water will be percolated, and there will be an outlet provided at the bottom, and it will go through this outlet. So to describe more, these are the geocomposite drainage composites. These are flexible composites which is used for a drainage purpose, and these have a core material. As I said, this is the core material through which water will pass, and we will be having a geotextile filter. So this will allow the water to pass into it, and it will also it should also act as a separator layer. It will not allow soil to percolate into it, so it should not block. As you can see how these drainage composites are also designed. So first of all, we have two different materials. One is core. Other thing is the geotextile material, which is pasted to the core. The main function of the core is to have the drainage function. So we need to check the flow capacity or drainage capacity of the core net based on the intensity of the rainfall, whatever in the location. We need to collect the quantities, and then based on that, this flow capacity, whether whatever the quantity of water which will be collected through this at this location, whether this core is capable of transferring that water drainage, whether it will have that capacity or not, that we need to check. As said, filtration criteria, retention. So for the geotextile, we need to check the retention. This geotextile will be having pores. So the filter geotextile has sufficient pore size that it should retain. It should not allow the soil into this geotextile also. If you allow the soil into the geotextile, it will clog. Over a certain period, this geotextile will clog. So that clogging resistance check shall also be done. And permeable, whatever the water is coming, it should allow the water to pass through it. So it should be having the permeability check also. So all these things has to be checked before proposing any drainage media. So these are the basic components and general guidelines, so which has been provided in Indian codes and MWTH guidelines. So let us go further with few case studies. So today I will cover only the case studies with concrete fascia, as my colleague Narendra will be covering the case studies related to soft fascia and stone fascia will be covered by him in the next session. So I will cover concrete fascia or hard concrete fascia. So these are the few case studies. So one of the first projects in India is constructed in Ludhiana in 1988. So here is the first reinforced soil wall built in 1988. And here the reinforcement which has been used, the geosynthetic reinforcement which has been used is polymeric strip, which is usually called as para-web. So a general was also published in 1994. So what is the there are many structures without any intermediate bumps with a concrete fascia. The maximum height of a wall constructed without any bumps or without any bumps in between, without any offsets in between, is 18.4 meters. This was constructed in Chhindwara in UP, and then this is having an total area of around 36,000 square meters. And those two are the highway projects. And what about the boundary wall? Here, as you can see, here in there is one of the project wherein the ground level was like this, and the client want to build an industrial area at this RL, at this grade, at this level. So now they want to retain the soil, so they have constructed a boundary wall here in Goa. The maximum height of this wall has been 15.2 meters. The reinforcement provided are geosynthetic strips. This is one of the boundary wall which we have constructed in Goa. So I would also introduce a few more case studies wherein RS wall, not only RS wall, there could be certain conditions where we cannot directly construct reinforced soil walls or any structure, any structure. So because of the subsoil conditions, the existing ground condition may not be good. So it may not be good, and it may not be able to take the loads coming from the reinforced soil or any structure, let it be a normal RCC structure or reinforced soil structure. But the ground improvement required for a reinforced soil structure will be less when compared to an RCC structure. So this is one of the case study wherein we have this is a project where a railway crossing was crossing the port. This is the Mundra port in Gujarat. There is a port. So they want to construct an rail overbridge. So for this rail overbridge, they want to construct approaches. The approaches have been planned to construct with reinforced soil walls with concrete fascia of 180 mm thick panels. This is the project location. This is the general thing. So what are the problems which you have encountered? The foundation soil has comprises of high clay material till certain 4 to 5 meter depth, and it has also inadequate because of this clay material, because of the loads coming from the reinforced soil structure. the load bearing capacity of the soil was very less. So we need to improve the ground in order to construct this particular structure. Even the groundwater table is at a higher altitude. So groundwater table is just 1 to 1.5 meters below the ground level. So these are the various problems in this particular project. So what has been done? The height of the embankment is 9 meters. The reinforced fill which they have used have the angle of internal friction of 32, and the retained fill they had an angle of internal friction of 30. The seismic, the location of zone 5, when I say zone 5, it indicates that it is a high seismic zone. So the seismic activity is also high. The loadings has been given as 13.5, the dead loads and the live loads has been considered as 13.5 and 24 kPa respectively. So these are the details of the loadings and what is the geometric details and the geotechnical details. So for this 9-meter high embankment, so the required safe bearing capacity was around 27 ton per meter square. So this is the required bearing capacity. So, but the available based on the Terzigi's calculation, and the available bearing capacity was around 10 to 15 tons. Based on the height, the bearing requirement will also reduce. So based on that, the existing soil has 10 to 15 ton meter squares of capacity. So on the settlements, because when we do the settlement, when we have done the settlement analysis, the estimated settlement was well above the allowable settlement. In case of reinforced soil walls, since these are the flexible structures, wherein there will be certain joints in between, there will be bearings for every 1.5 meters. So these are able to take more settlement when compared to RCC structures. For RCC structures, the allowable settlement would be around 20 to 25 mm. Whereas for the reinforced soil structures, the allowable settlement as per codes is around 100 mm. So, however, in this particular case, we are getting more than 200 mm settlement. So at the end, what we have proposed is, we have proposed ground improvement with a layer of basal reinforcement and stone columns. So stone columns has been proposed along with a layer of basal. When I say basal reinforcement, is nothing but a layer of reinforcement is being introduced below the ground level. So just to have the uniform distribution of load into the below soil. So this is the ground improvement proposed. So the diameter of the stone columns which we have proposed is around 0.6, and the spacing has been based on the loads coming over the soil. The spacing has been varied from 2.5 to 1.5 meters. As you can see, the boring has been done for the stone column installation. So these are the borings, and based on, after drilling that, and the stones have been poured into it, and compaction will be done. Self-compact, since we are providing stones, it's a self-compacting material. After providing a level surface, so a base, as told, a layer of reinforcement has been provided, so that whatever the loads that are coming from the top will be uniformly distributed below. So as you can see, after laying that reinforcement and after leveling pad, the panels, the reinforced concrete panels will be erected. As I said, there will be a certain element that is the connection through which the reinforcements will be connected. These are the connection element, these are the facing element, this is the reinforced fill, and the fill beyond this is the retaining fill. So this is during construction. After erection, you can see this is the structure. So after complete construction, this is the whole structure, wherein beneath this stone columns has been provided, a layer of basal reinforcement has been provided. Since this is the port area, it has certain groundwater conditions. So in order to take care of all these factors, certain ground improvement measures shall also be done in case of reinforced soil walls also. So there is another one interesting case study, that is Karnataka KPCL project in Ballari, wherein there is a waterfront structure. Here you can see this is a reinforced soil wall, and here also there is a reinforced soil wall. Here what the client wants is, in the existing pond, the existing level is this, and they want to increase the capacity of this particular dike. So what they want is this, the proposed water level will be at this level. So this particular structure will be having a waterfront. So it will be having a passive pressure from the other side also. We'll be having an active pressure over this side, and they will be having a passive pressure over this side also. And we should avoid, we should try to avoid entering of water into this panel. So the embankment was prone to this embankment was prone to submergence. So water from the other end of the wall should not enter into the reinforced soil wall system. This is also one of the challenges. So this water should not enter into this reinforced soil wall. So waterproofing has to be done on the one side. So to overcome this particular challenge, 1.5 mm thick geosynthetic membrane has been proposed. So geosynthetic membrane was provided in the reinforced panels along the inner face of the panel. As you can see, this is a solution component. This is the waterfront area. This is the normal facing element. Concrete fascia is there. This is the connection element. So into this, as you can see, these are the strips of the reinforcement. This will be passed into the connection and again got back here into the rear end. So this is the reinforcement, geosynthetic reinforcement, geosynthetic strip. Here, as you can see, this is the plastic kind of material. This is the geomembrane, wherein it will arrest the passage of water into the structure. So this has been done. So this also, for this, various level of ground has to be level of water table has to be checked. So for complete submergence of the structure, what would be the stability? For sudden drawdown, if the capacity has been reduced from the 3 meters from the top to 10 meters from the top. So if the water level reduces, so what is the stability of the structure? Whether this wall will be stable for all the passive, since this is not an uniform, just like backfill, the level of water might increase or decrease based on the water level. So this wall has to be safe in all the conditions. So this has been checked for various drawdown conditions. Well, if completely the water goes down, what is the stability? If completely water comes up, what is the stability of the structure? And all these things has been globally checked. And once it is safe, then we will release the designs. Along with this, along with the waterfront, here also there was issue with the in situ soil. Here also groundwater table is just below the RS wall, as you could see in the figures also. And the topsoil is also weak. Here what we did is, since the topsoil is weak for 3 to 4 meters, we have provided sand piles, and a layer of geogrid has also been provided. This was primarily to control any differential settlements that could occur. So as you can see, installation of sand piles, they are readying everything. This is the layer of geogrid basal reinforcement which is being provided. So this is the completed project. So this is the reinforced soil structure. Here you can see this is a thermal power plant. This is an ash pond dike, and you can see, and this is the reinforced soil wall which is being constructed. These are the few completed photographs. And not only this, there are a few projects has been constructed for railway applications also in UK. We have constructed one of the structure with reinforced soil walls, wherein the loadings coming from the railway has been taken care of. And this is one of the major applications which we are exploring in India. Also in India, till now we are not able to do this particular kind of structures. And now we have started pushing authorities of dedicated freight corridors, and we are able to do, or not, we have started doing one of the projects also. So for this railway loadings, so railway department is a little bit stringent whether this could be able to take or not take because of the loads and all those things. We have showed various case studies done in the abroad, and now in India also we are starting to use this particular kind of technology for railways applications also. So this here there is one of the projects in Peru wherein the height of the wall is 28 meters, and this is for mine crusher wall. So you can see this is the mine crusher wall, mine crusher, and here we need to construct reinforced soil walls so that the vehicles will go to the top and dump the waste. So here you can see the reinforced soil wall being constructed. Here you can see the connections. So in this is called loop connections. This is with steel and loop and toggle connection. So here we'll be having a toggle coming over here, and then the reinforcement will be connected through this. This is the wall which has been constructed at the end. So during the configurations, I have told about one of the major applications in India which we are currently exploring is the construction of bridge abutments with reinforced soil. So as you know, bridge abutments are nothing but the end piers of any bridge. So this usually takes the loads from the girder and whatever the vehicles moving over it. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to replace these bridge abutments with reinforced soil walls. So this has been used in many foreign countries, and this technology is being now started in India also. So this also we are exploring currently. So what are the major components in case of bridge component? Just like a normal reinforced soil wall, along with the reinforced soil wall, since we will be having the girders resting over the reinforced soil wall, instead of having a pier or abutment over which the bearings and dirt walls and everything, instead of that, we'll be having a bank seat. Over this bank seat, this girder will rest. The loads coming from road and girder will transfer into the bank seat, and from bank seat into the reinforced soil structure. So this is a typical new application which has been emerged in the recent past. So reinforced soil walls through bridge abutments. So as you can see, this here ideally there should be an abutment, similar to this. There should be an abutment constructed. Instead of that, what we have provided is a reinforced soil wall abutment. So here we have provided reinforced soil wall abutment. This is also one of the application of reinforced soil walls. So we can use in place of abutments this reinforced soil walls also. With this, I end my presentation here. If any queries are there, I can take it up.
Sir, shall we take few questions from students, sir?
Yeah.
Sir, in chat box, students who are viewing from YouTube, they have posted questions to you, sir.
Okay. Yes, we can take them.
The questions are displayed in chat box, sir.
So based on the serviceability criteria, what is the deflection settlement permissible for MSE wall? So the settlement permissible will be 100 mm and the deflection will be 1 in 20. So what should be the minimum connection strength of GeoGrid or strip to the panel? The minimum connection strength will depend upon the location of the connection and the strength that will be coming. It will be whatever the maximum load coming from the reinforcement into 0.85 to 100%. So that will be guideline has been given in IRC SP 102 and BS 816. Based on the location of the reinforcement, the connection strength will be calculated. How to know where to use strips, uniaxial geogrids and uniaxial geogrids for MSE walls? See, we can use any type of reinforcement in case of MSE walls, but what we could do is in case of strips, it is these are a little bit rigid, and the connections will be directly into that. In case of uniaxial geogrids, the connections will be uniaxial geogrid. The connections in case of blocks, the connection will be passive connection. In between two blocks, we'll be placing this reinforcement. So the failure possibility of these uniaxial geogrids will be more. So this connection strength will be checked. Based on that, we need to decide. Both of them can be used. There is no major restrictions. But in case of high seismic activity, so this whenever you are using uniaxial geogrid, there should be a connection placed. In case of seismic zone 4 and 5, there should be an external connections. Up to which maximum height the reinforced soil wall and RS walls are suitable? If we go for greater heights, is there any chance of bulging of this flexible wall? So in India, we have constructed the maximum height of this composite structure up to 80 meters. If in case of Sikkim also, we can go up to any height, but intermediate bumps should be provided for every 15 meters. Indian Road Congress has been given certain guidelines. For every 50 meters, there should be an intermediate bump, there should be an offset. After that, we can construct next wall. So if you go for higher heights, there could be a possibility of bulging of this facing. So this has to be taken care properly with usage of proper soil material. So this has to be taken. Do reinforced strips should be tied at the end to have additional tensile strength? If no, then is there any chance of slip of strips? No, they need not to be tied at the end. Okay, so just if we tie at the face, at the end also there will be a connection. So in order to place it in position, it is usually connected at the rear end. So after the soil has been dumped, we can remove it. We are not taking in our design considerations and everywhere, the connection at the rear end is not taken in any of the design considerations. Just it is provided to place the reinforcement in place till the soil is dumped over the reinforcement. Once it is dumped, we can remove that strips at the rear end. What was the strength of Paraweb used for Ludhiana wall, and for what trophic load? The trophic load which we have used is around 22 kPa, and the strength based on the height, the strength would be around 75 kilonewtons of Paraweb. So since the height is not more, the grade of Paraweb which we have used is around 75 kilonewtons.
I thank Mr. P.S. Arshid Garu for spending his valuable time with us and giving us valuable information. You taking time out of your busy personal and professional schedules means the world to us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I also thank Keshwar Reddy sir once again for providing this opportunity to interact with all the juniors of our college. And I thank him very much. And even Tarun Kumar sir also for coordinating with me.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. P.S. Harshit. So I am proud of you. So we, the civil engineering department, so as a whole, we proud of you people. So in all aspects. So especially Mr. Harshit, so has been continuously upgrading his skills and contributing to the field of geotechnical engineering at McAfee Environmental Solutions Private Limited, where he is bringing laurels to the institution. So nationwide is playing as a vital role in the field of REOL designs with geosynthetics. So he is very good student above and all. He is very good student. So I've seen in the past 20 years. I hope he will reach the epitome of success, and he will do wonders to the field of geotechnical engineering, especially in the field of design of geotechnical structures. So I'm so proud of you, Mr. Harshit. So I wish you all the best. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Thank you very much for your valuable wishes. Thanks. Thanks for your support.
Thank you, everyone. So we'll meet again at 2:45 for the last session of the two-day national level online workshop on technological advancements in geotechnical engineering practice with the geosynthetics. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, sir.